Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in the Northwest Territories, where the community of Jean Marie River is getting ready for a potential evacuation to Fort Simpson at short notice. A wildfire is burning around 20 kilometers northwest of the community. There's concerns that strong winds could drive the wildfire closer to town this evening. There's no evacuation order for the community at this point, but since an evacuation alert was issued on Monday, they're focused on being prepared.
Notifying all the community yesterday at 2 o'clock, we had a community meeting to inform them about getting their important documents together and making sure that they're set and ready to go. As of yesterday, staffing was going around and just making sure that we had everybody in order to get them up with the vehicles and checking in with everybody.
NWT Fire says it's being proactive to protect the community. It set up a sprinkler system and sent structure protection specialists. The chief says smoke in the community is getting thicker with strong winds, but they're hopeful that rain will help wildfire crews. Leaders in Fort Smith NWT say they don't want to lose Aurora College, but decisions around creating a more centralized campus in Yellowknife have them worried. They say those decisions are being made without the consultation of regional campuses. The Thabetcha Leadership Council is comprised of local leaders in Fort Smith. It wants the college to stop centralizing leadership positions and programming in Yellowknife. It says the move is taking opportunities away from the Fort Smith and Nunavik campuses. The council also wants the community of Fort Smith to be more involved in the decision-making process and not just, quote, token consultation. The council says the shift is weakening the college's deep roots in the north.
It already is shrinking. We're watching it every day. The hallways are empty. The students aren't here. It's hard. It's really hard. It's disappointing, you know. It hits you hard that you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's done. Aurora College here in Fort Smith used to have 300 students just in our campus alone.
Ferguson says the changes could have repercussions when it comes to students' academic development. She says the Leadership Council hopes to meet with the college's Board of Governors in September to advocate for regional campuses. Today is Nunavut Day, and to celebrate, we pulled 2 items from our archives. In 2024, Nunavut marked its 25th anniversary, and we did a special episode of Northbeat to commemorate the occasion. As part of that special, we put together an abbreviated timeline of the territory's history and spoke with one of its founding fathers, Tagak Curley. Here's that timeline, followed by my conversation with Curley.
Kamana kay 95th winni makwa angayok kaarawaraqsuung mata kalluna tapane nyunarinnittut soorlu parisikkun niuertikkun ayorsuikkun.
The idea to split the Northwest Territories into 2 separate jurisdictions stretches far back. In 1966, the federal government appointed someone to head up a study on the split. He concluded it shouldn't happen. But that didn't stop the people pushing for what would become Nunavut. In 1976, the idea is back in the political sphere. A new Inuit advocacy organization called Inuit Tapirasat of Canada, led by its first president, Tagak Curley, had a bold idea: to tie the creation of Nunavut and Inuit land claims together. That plan set the stage for decades to come. That same year, in 1976, a recommendation to create 2 federal electoral districts in the NWT, the first formal split of the territory on a map. Then, on April 14, 1982, a move towards a different kind of split. The NWT held a plebiscite with the question, do you think the Northwest Territories should be divided? And the answer?
The votes in yesterday's northern plebiscite have now been counted, and a majority of the voters have said yes, split the Northwest Territories in 2.
Throughout the 80s and into the 90s, Nunavut moved forward. The federal government announced its support, boundaries were drawn, and negotiations continued, until finally they were complete. The Nunavut Land Claims Agreement is signed on May 25, 1993, the largest land claim settlement in Canadian history. 2 new acts were passed by the Canadian government soon after, on July 9th. The Nunavut Land Claims Agreement Act and the Nunavut Act, which represented the beginning of Nunavut as a territory within Canadian Federation. And 6 years later,
I'm overwhelmed with pride. Today, the people of Nunavut formally join Canada.
The territory is officially born on April 1st, 1999, the first day of Nunavut as we now know it. You had such a big role not only in the creation of Nunavut, but you were part of that whole early political movement for self-determination among Inuit. So can you just kind of reflect on me what that time period was like in the 1960s and 70s and onwards as you were fighting that battle?
It's always difficult to clearly put the whole issues of self-determination and to rise up to try and find ways to protect our identity, culture, and sort of a traditional way of life, which were at that time not part of the Canadian system. When we say the colonial system was such that they did not have hardly any respect for our culture, our tradition, and our forefathers, which a person like myself was very proud of, that they were able to survive. But those of us at my age group, we knew then that we were losing our ability to have confidence in our tradition and way of life. When we say way of life, it means that our culture, language, and our ability to survive were not recognized in Canada, and therefore we really were not significant to the Canadian government or the governments of the world. So it was a different perspective altogether. The times were tough, and either we lose it or we give up or pursue the idea of self-determination, which is undefined, very complex, because we have nothing to go back to. Once you're in it, either you're dead end and lose hope, or you gain something. That was the nature of my involvement during the last, I say during the last 50 years. 25 years is not that far away.
What kept you motivated as you were fighting these battles and really forging forward on a path that didn't exist ever before? You were making a brand new path for yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, that's a huge question. At least in terms of once we had the ability to participate with the self-determination work, that means we were able to stake the claims on Inuit land. So it took a lot of time to negotiate the actual Aboriginal title to land and other rights that we have since achieved. But in terms of the other side, on the political development side, that was much more complex, because these were, I can tell you, these were not negotiable. They were not Aboriginal title related public government system. So as a young MLA, when I got it into legislature in 79, I used that forum, basically myself, to promote the idea of dividing the territory continually, having it recognized by resolutions, motions in the House, and establishing a special committee to consult with the public. And these were okay because the jurisdiction lied with the federal government. but they were not engaged whatsoever in promoting the idea. They were hoping that it would simply die out and that we would come to a dead end. The public is not interested. So these are complex issues, but by and large, the public was engaged and we were able to hold plebiscite to confirm whether or not the majority accept them or not. So it's been an interesting 25 years as far as the public government side is concerned, Nunavut government, creation of Nunavut government.
Do you think that Nunavut is living up to the vision that you and other leaders had in the 1960s and 70s?
Yes, the Nunavut, in terms of the government concept, the it it's maturing slowly. A lot of people would like to see, you know, more progress be made. At the same time, they must be trained for the jobs. And that's slowly coming along. It's coming along. We still must be patient because Nunavut is not easy. It's the most expensive way to live in the any regions of Canada. We don't have a highway system, so there are a lot of very complex challenges ahead. So I think most residents are aware that our leaders have to work very hard to try and make sure, including the cost of living must be continually be tackled in Nunavut. And the only way that's going to happen is if we improve our transportation system and not just depend on airlines and ships. But eventually, we need some highways to the strategic points in Nunavut territory. These are the challenges that we have, and we must continue to be aware of it and take them on.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I think that's enough for me for today. We have years ahead to see what will happen to the future of Nunavut.
And I look forward to watching it as it happens, and I'm sure you do too.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Koyanami Raluk, for your time today.
Okay, you take care.
That conversation first aired last April. Governor General Mary Simon spoke in Iqaluit today for Nunavut Day. Here's some of what she said.
I'm so happy to be back in Iqaluit. It's really wonderful to be here, to see all the young faces, to see families, and to see ourselves as one people across this vast territory. Nunavut is such a beautiful land. So 26 years ago, the creation of Nunavut marked a milestone in our lives and in our culture. And when I look across this area and see so many people, I just feel that there is so much to celebrate today. When you look back on the 25 years that the creation, and 26 now, when the territory was created, a lot of things happened. A lot of things have happened, and I think there will always be challenges in our lives, and we will have to continue working to improve life in our communities. But we must also recognize the achievements that you've made in the territory. I think young adults are ready to lead with new and exciting ideas. We have teachers, our elders are valued greatly. We have mothers and fathers that are passing down knowledge, both in the school and out on the land. I think we really need to take time to teach and learn, because that is a really powerful source of hope. It gives us hope. There is a really strong sense of community across Nunavut. Another is the beauty and depth of our culture. when the world gets a glimpse of us, I think they fall in love with the people and the North, and I am so proud of that. They admire the connection to the land, our connection to the land. They admire our knowledge of the Arctic. They admire the traditions of our people. And I think we can be very proud of these things. It is what makes you Nunavummiut. So just take a moment today and feel the connection you have with one of the most special places on earth.
For the first time since the NCAA has been allowed to pay its student athletes, a high-profile Canadian hockey player is lacing up for a big payday. 17-year-old Gavin McKenna is the latest Canadian Hockey League player to be accepted by the U.S. organization. And as George Moratis reports, it's a big deal for the presumed #1 pick in next year's NHL draft.
Onto the rebound, he'll have a 2-on-1 shorthanded with speed. Pacheco the trailer. McKenna, what a move! Gavin McKenna, mastery from Gavin McKenna!
Yukon hockey phenom Gavin McKenna has made his decision. He's taking his talents to the NCAA.
From the White Horse Wizard.
Gavin, you've been mulling over quite a big decision about colleges. Where are you headed to school next?
Yeah, it was a super tough decision. Obviously, there's a lot of great options out there. But I think me, my family, and everyone who's a kind of part of my circle, we all decided the best spot for me next year will be Penn State University.
Guiding his decision were parents Willie and Crystal McKenna.
Came down to them and Michigan State. Both of them have really, really good programs. They have really, really good facilities. Their campuses are amazing. But I think when it comes down to it, Gavin just kind of his gut feeling was Penn State.
For me, having him go to the States, into a different country, is kind of a little bit worrisome. But I think once he gets there and settles in, the coaching staff, and even actually he met some of his teammates from Penn State, I think he's probably made the right decision so that he can be the most prepared for the following year.
The 17-year-old Trondaquichin First Nation citizen leaves behind the Western Hockey League and the Medicine Hat Tigers. A team he led in scoring last season, helped guide to the Memorial Cup final, and the squad he won both WHL Rookie of the Year and CHL Player of the Year with. Craig Button is the senior hockey analyst with TSN.
Obviously, losing a player of Gavin McKenna's stature and caliber of player, it stings.
Button says he doesn't expect a mass exodus of players leaving the CHL for U.S. college hockey.
When you run a good program in the CHL and you have good coaching and everything that goes with it, players want to be part of that. And the NCAA route, being a student athlete, isn't for everybody.
While details of McKenna's contract have not been made public, college hockey insider Mike McMahon is reporting it may be in the neighborhood of $1.1 million. If so, McKenna would become the highest paid college hockey player to date. Since news of the Yukon Stars signing, Penn State is now the favorite to win next year's national championship. George Moratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The Klondike Spirit in Dawson City, Yukon is alive again after a 5-year hiatus. The paddle wheeler was dry docked in 2019 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The owner had considered selling the vessel, but his family recently decided to take on the business. Chris McIntyre has more.
Brad Whitelaw bought the boat in 2007 in Eagle, Alaska, and it was in the Yukon River in Dawson City a year later. He says when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, he was forced to park the boat, unsure if it would ever sail again. However, last week, the Klondike Spirit was put into the river. Now, it's undergoing final inspections and approvals before it can welcome the first group of passengers.
We're trying to meet a deadline. There's inspections, the inspectors in town, and so we're trying to, and as well as other, the fire certification people. Being so remote, it's really difficult to find qualified people and the proper resources to get this done. So we're just trying to hammer it to get it done and be ready here in the next couple of days.
Whitelaw says once operational, the paddle wheeler will take passengers on tours down the Yukon River past Moosehide Village and back up towards town. He said if it wasn't for his family's interest in keeping the spirit alive, he doesn't know what the future of the boat would have been.
My oldest daughter and her partner, Alexandra and Logan, are interested in taking over the operations of this, so it couldn't work out better. They know about the Klondike Spirit and the attraction it brings to the city. And since we're on the dock, there's another attractions as well. We're getting float planes, so it's like a good thing can pile on and be better.
Whitelaw says he hopes to have the first group of passengers on the river this month. Chris McIntyre, CBC News, Dawson City.
The Yukon Arts Centre is featuring a new exhibit called Without Saying. The series of paintings and drawings are by two local artists, one of whom is autistic and mostly nonverbal. The CBC's Isabella Calisi spoke with the artists and curator about how this visual conversation shows a different way of communicating.
You can see the first layer of painting, there's another layer, there's another guy underneath this painting in acrylic, and then Ernest came in and added on the oil stick, and that's when a hole developed in the work.
What makes this collection of paintings unique is the collaboration between the two artists, both who come from very different backgrounds.
It combines the work of Ernest Chua, who's a nonverbal, autistic, mostly self-taught artist, and Colin Dorward, who has a PhD in art. So somebody with the highest level of art education and somebody with no formal arts education. But art is the great equalizer between these two. And so their work is having a silent conversation between itself.
Gonzalez Rohrbacher has worked with Chua for 2 years. This medium gives Chua a chance to express himself without words.
But that's part of the fun of not having any information about the paintings, is that a person can start drawing connections. If it was written out too much, then a person might not notice as much the similarities or connections between the work. Yeah, this lady, that's one of my favorite, and she's in most of Ernest's paintings. What do you think was the painting of Ernest?
Chua and Dorward have been working in proximity of each other for a bit more than a year. Their pieces mirror one another in the gallery in style.
I don't know the details of the motive, but it's very clear that it's there. And I think that mystery is really, for me, something that makes painting really exciting.
With Ernest's work, we can see why art studios for people with developmental disabilities are so important, because this studio has given Ernest the space, the time, the materials to really develop this practice. It's not instructive. We're not teaching him how to paint. We're not teaching him how to draw. We're not telling him what to do. We're just there to support.
Dorward says one thing he admires about Chua's work is how different it is from the average Yukon painter.
I think either of us could be making these paintings in any location. You think? Maybe, eh?
People can come see Chua and Dorward's work at the Yukon Arts Centre until the end of August. Isabel Calisi, CBC News, Whitehorse.
If you're in Yellowknife, you may have noticed an abundance of floating white fluff drifting through the air. We wanted to know what it is and why it's here. Turns out it's tree seeds from poplars, willows, and aspens. The NWT's Environment Department says the increase is due to drought putting stress on trees. Water levels have seen some recovery this year, but the territory has had drought conditions since 2022. An expert says the cumulative impact could be leading to the fluff.
I think what people are talking about in terms of the drought, that could be two things. One is that some species, if trees are very stressed, and they might be dying, sometimes they produce what's called a stress crop. So it's sort of getting the offspring out there while they can. And that could be going on. And I don't know if that happens with any of the species that you're talking about, but that could be the case. And the other thing could be just that, again, hot, dry conditions encourage the formation of a lot of these reproductive buds, even if the trees aren't unusually stressed.
Aiken says the fluff can help the tree seeds adapt to climate change. It carries them far away, drops them into new areas, and the seeds most suited for those new areas survive. And she says the drought-stressed trees can still recover. Now, let's take a look at the weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. We leave you tonight with more from Nunavut Day in Iqaluit. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night and happy Nunavut Day.